All right, we're going to have some fun in this one. We're going to blow some stuff up. It's always fun to blow stuff up. And to do that, we're going to use the explosion effects object. Now, with the explosion effects object, you can quickly create and animate realistic explosion effects. It produces clusters out of the objects it's deforming, over which you have a large amount of control. So to animate the explosion effects object, you animate the time parameter. So let's take a look at that. The explosion effects is right here. So if we drop that into the scene, you can do this two ways. You can make the explosion effects a child of the effects, or a child of the object you want to explode. Okay, you see we already have some explosion going on. Or you can take these two and you can alter Option G to group them so that they're peers of one another on the same level. And this may work better if you don't have the object that you want to explode as a single object. Maybe you have it under an extrude or something like that. This is probably the way you would want to do it. But in any case, you can see that we're already starting to get some explosion stuff happening here. Okay, so let's select the explosion effect and come over here to the object, and we have the time parameter. And if you see the green sphere that's growing, that's what actually creates the explosion. So animating this parameter. Now, right now, when we adjust that parameter, you can see that it's only exploding a certain point out. And that has to do with the blue and red spheres that we can pull out here. So we want to make sure that everything is encompassed by these. And then when we come back with our time, we can explode more of the logo here. Let's pull these out a little bit more. And then adjust our time parameter. And you can see what's going on there. Okay, so let's just take a look at some of our parameters that we have here. So obviously the time, again, is what actually creates the explosion. We go over to the explosion tab. We have the strength. And the strength defines the force used to accelerate the clusters. So the value needed for this, for a good effect, depends on the size and density of the clusters. So best thing to do is just put the explosion effect on your object and just sort of play around with these and see what, if it's doing what you want it to. This is going to be exploding out a little further the higher we take this value. All right. Now the decay, use the decay to set a fall off for the strength. 0 means no fall off. 100% means the strength falls to 0 by the time it reaches the edge of the blast range. Use the variation to vary the strength for each cluster. 0 means no variation. 100% means the strength can vary from 0 to twice its entered value. Okay. So if we set a direction, first of all, only in X, only in Y, and if we come over here, we can specify a direction that we want our blast to go into. So let's go back over here. Let's say only Z. So we can come back over here, and we're only blasting in one direction, which is on the Z axis here. We go back over here, we can check linear, and the force will be applied to all of the clusters. So let's come back over here to the object again, and you can see it's just going out in that one direction. Back over to the explosion. The blast time, like the strength, this affects the amount of force that's being applied to the clusters. Change this value only if the maximum strength value is insufficient. Blast speed. Here you can enter the blast speed in meters per second. A cluster remains in place until the blast or the green frame reaches it. If you set the blast speed to 0, all the clusters are accelerated immediately. Now let's run over here to the cluster tab and look at some of these parameters. Now we can control the thickness here of the clusters. So maybe if we zoom up here and take a look at these and we adjust this cluster thickness, you can see that our pieces are getting thicker. Let's come back over here to our object, extrude that out. Sort of get in there where we can see that a little bit better. Go to the cluster. And these are sort of getting thicker, as you can see. All right. The cluster type. This defines how the clusters are formed from the object's polygons. So you may want to just play around with these and see what the different options you get. So polygons is usually a good one. Again, you can play with these numbers. You can also go negative with this as well. All right. So there's a whole lot of options here with the explosion effect. And after you get your effect the way that you want it, again, just animate the time. So Control or Command, put a keyframe there. And actually, let's put that at 0. Let's move a little further in time here to say frame 30 and move this way up like this. Put another keyframe. You'll see when we run through this, we have an animated explosion. And you can play with this and get this to really look good. This is a great effect to use when you want to explode objects here in Cinema 4D.